Have you ever felt a bit lost, just a bit directionless? Maybe your work currently isn't as fulfilling as you thought it would have been, or you've gone through a recent change that has just felt a bit unsettling. Things might be feeling just a bit stagnant. Maybe things have been feeling the same for a long time and you just feel that something isn't quite right. I've been there. I'm Kamil Raveen, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 key insights that may help you to get back on track. And these insights aren't random. They were implemented from my own personal journey, which is why I'll be referencing those experiences throughout this video. And I really want to encourage you as you listen through to take what resonates and discard the rest. But please listen through to the final insight, as that one is most important. And I have a really special request for you. The first insight is to reconnect. This world can be so noisy. It can be easy to just get distracted, for our mind to wander. And of course, if you're feeling a bit lost, then it can feel natural when your mind's all over the place. And this is why the first insight is something to get started with. There's a saying that if I'm lost, I can also be found. And it's going to be far easier to find ourselves. And I want to make sure I emphasize that we are the ones who find ourselves. It's going to be far more easier to find ourselves if our mind is cleared, if we're in a place of staying grounded. And when I go back to years ago, when I was in that place of just being lost, I really started to prioritize mindfulness, to going within, to reconnecting, to meditating, and in that space to start asking myself the deeper questions that really mattered. You know what questions I'm talking about? Give it a think. Why am I here? What do I really want? The reason I'm prioritizing reconnecting is because when we start to go within, get quiet, and clear our mind, we're a lot more in touch with our innate intuition, our innate wisdom. And if we're in a place of being lost, that's the guidance that really matters. And we often can't explain it, right? Sometimes you might just feel drawn towards something. You might just feel guided towards something and you can't put a finger on why. That's your wisdom, your intuition speaking to you. So the reconnection is so important. Why am I here? What do I really want? These are the questions that can make the biggest difference. The second insight is experimentation. 5 years ago, my life was completely different, and I think you're going to relate to this on some level. You see, I was working in a previous career in law, and I spent around 3 hours of my day commuting, going into the office and coming back. And I began to just see how the existence I was living just felt so unfulfilling, menial, and it just wasn't for me. The work I was doing was soul destroying. It was something that I just didn't see I could spend the rest of my life doing, and that thought really scared me. I was in such a lost place because I knew this path that I thought for years that I wanted just wasn't for me anymore, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go from here. And this is why I started to prioritize that first insight that we spoke about, reconnecting. But the second insight, experimentation, ties into this. You see, in this place of feeling lost, of feeling directionless, of not knowing what I'm doing or where I'm going, I just began to follow my curiosity and try things. A great way to talk about this is like a scientist. Let's say the nature of science is to experiment, is to hypothesize, is to try things. And scientists continuously experiment. It doesn't mean those experiments always work. However, they begin to receive data of what works and what isn't working. So just like a scientist, we can begin to experiment, right? Let's begin experimenting and trying new things for the sake of experimenting. Now, can you imagine if you were to experiment time and again, what happens when you continue to experiment? Something clicks. When you start to experiment, something eventually clicks and it begins to work and you think, oh, something's coming to life here. Something is forming. This is great. And sometimes those discoveries, as you may see with plenty of examples in science, they weren't often planned or prepared. It just happened unexpectedly. This is why I'm talking about experimentation, because you never know what can unfold when you just experiment and try stuff. I began to try all kinds of things. I was looking into different career paths. I was starting to develop an app at one point. I was looking into starting different businesses like real estate, Reiki, trading. Nothing really clicked with me from those because I didn't have a real passion for it, but that wasn't the point. I was just experimenting and trying things, and that did eventually lead me to finding what I really wanted. The third insight is leaning into the unknown. Human beings can be so scared of the unknown, and it might feel natural to do so. It might feel like, yeah, surely the unknown is a scary place. I can certainly relate to that, can you? But the thing is, when we're sticking to what we know, it limits the scope of what can unfold. And I saw this. In my previous career, so many people got into certain jobs, into certain careers, into certain directions, into certain relationships, and just because it felt familiar, it felt like they knew it, they derived a false sense. And I'm using the word false with intention. A false sense of security, because knowing something has nothing to do with security. It's just something that we're making up. But if we're sticking to what we know, it's going to limit what can unfold. And this is why the unknown is where the magic is. This is why the third insight is about leaning into the unknown, because it's where miracles can start to form. One of the best examples I can ever use for this is if you rewind the clock and go back to witnessing really young kids, toddlers. Let's say you go to a primary school, an early school playground. All of these kids are so expressed, they're having fun, they're adventuring in this playground, and it's just part of it, right? It's just part of the adventure. They're seeing things as an adventure. Even if they don't know what's going to happen, it's part of that excitement. And what happens over time? Let's say you go to the next school, the secondary school, the high school, wherever you are in the world, and suddenly the playground doesn't seem like an adventure anymore. Suddenly everyone's sticking to their little groups and worrying about what's going to happen if they try something new and stick out. That's not what life needs to be about. This is about coming back to realizing that the unknown is the adventure, and we won't always know what's going to happen, but if we're coming from a place of adventure, it doesn't need to be as scary. It can simply be an exploration, like we're a traveler and we're just going to find out what's going to happen. This is what happened to me. Yes, I may have had certain feelings arising of not knowing what's going to happen or how it's going to work, but when I left my previous job and started to explore something new, I was coming from that place of having the faith within myself, the trust within myself to explore something new and see it as the adventure. The fourth insight is commit. Commit, 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 commit. Can't say it enough. You're reconnecting with yourself. You're tapping into your inner wisdom, your intuition. You're experimenting. You're leaning into the unknown. But once you've found that thing, once you've seen a direction, a certain path, something that is pulling you in, something that is drawing you, something that's getting you excited, commit. I cannot emphasize this enough. I've seen throughout the world now, so many people are playing half-measured approaches, dipping their toes in the pool, putting eggs in multiple baskets. This is not the kind of behavior, this is not the kind of action that creates real results. If you want to create a miracle, it's not going to come from putting your eggs in multiple baskets and taking half-measured approaches. Especially at the beginning, when you're exploring something completely new, it requires and it invites commitment. So when you find that thing, when you're seeing a direction that is pulling you in and drawing you and you're feeling a certain way about it, commit. Give it your all. Invest. I would have never made a career out of coaching if I didn't fully commit. I invested into the business. I invested into myself. I gave everything into learning and mastering the craft and building the business. So when you find that thing, and please, people talk about commitment a lot. You may have heard it multiple times. So don't hear this as if you've heard it before. Hear it as if you're really hearing this deep within your soul. Commit. The fifth and final insight, and well done if you've made it this far, because I really want you to hear this next one. Stop living like you're never going to die. I'll say that one more time. Stop living like you're never going to die. There is a Stoic saying called memento mori, and it simply means remember death. I'm gonna die. You're gonna die. We're all gonna die. But jokes aside, seriously, we're gonna die. But this isn't meant to be disempowering or scary or morbid. It's the opposite. Remembering death, seeing that we're gonna die, is the most freeing thing that we can ever experience. And this is why I've saved it for the last insight. To see that we're gonna die means that we can truly live. To see that we're gonna die means that we can truly live. Why hold back? Why live in fear? Why think what if? Why go to your grave, to your deathbed, wondering, I could have tried that thing. I could have maybe explored something different. Why do that? If we're really seeing that we're gonna die and we are not getting out of this alive, I repeat, we are not getting out of this alive, and we're taking nothing with us, why hold back? Why not try something? Why not do something different and leave nothing on the table? Play full out, because we're not getting out of this alive. None of us are. So stop living like you're never gonna die. So, to recap, reconnect, experiment, lean into the unknown, commit and stop living like you're never gonna die. And here is my request for those of you who have made it this far, and well done again, because it shows you're serious. Don't let this be just another video that you've watched. It's easy to fall into just mindless consumption, and this is not why we're here. Let's focus on implementation over information. There's no point just consuming information without implementing it. So for this particular video, my request is that you find at least one way to implement. Choose one thing from this list and actually try something. Implement it. And I would love to hear about it. So tell me what you've come up with. Tell me what you're going to commit to implementing from this, and let's actually start making something happen. Don't let this just be a video. Thank you so much for watching this. And if you found value in this video, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear more about your journey. I'd love to hear more about what you're up to and what you got from this. What was your favorite insight? What was the learning that you're going to put into practice? And if you found value in this, give this video a like, subscribe, as I have a lot of content coming up. I love you all.